So I just want to do a very short video about putting the airbox on a 1985 or 1986 Honda VT1100CG. This is the Shadow 1100, but only for the 85 and 86 model years. This is my custom bike, and this is what the airbox looks like. It kind of looks like a transformer face. And it goes, believe it or not, inside the bottom of the gas tank and sits right on here. And the gas tank is sort of hollowed out. And it can be tricky to do if you don't know how. So the first thing you want to do is clean the rubber boots with a silicone spray lubricant, such as this. And these are the rubber boots that I'm talking about. You want to let the silicone spray sit right on there after you clean it for a good 10 minutes or longer, because the silicone actually softens the rubber. Then you can wipe it off and spread a nice thin coating of a dielectric grease. You can use this spark plug boot type grease or any dielectric grease. And put a nice thin coat on. You don't want a lot of extra grease because you don't want it to be sucked into your carburetors. This is what it looks like. Okay, so you take the airbox and you note the position of the debris tube. And that feeds down in front of the carburetors and between the cylinders. I like to get the vent tube, which is located right there, started before I actually mount the airbox down. And for this entire job, these long needle nose type pliers are really going to be your friend, and they really work great for other projects like carburetors and stuff on this bike. So I've got the vent tube in place and the little clamp on it now before this goes all the way down into place. Next, just take a look at the situation and make sure that there's no wires or little rubber pieces sandwiched in a way that you don't want them. So all this stuff is out of the way. So the box can go right down. And I take my time and I line up the rubber boot with the tops of the carburetor. So this is tricky, and this isn't the forcing stage. You're just gonna move it around nice and easy and look in there with a flashlight and go back and forth and just get it so that the rubber boots are centered right over the carburetor perfectly. Okay, so this next step is the one that took me a long time to figure out. You get your 3 mounting bolts. Now this is set up right where I want it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the mounting bolts into place and actually tighten down the airbox, which is going to push it against the carburetor. But the boots are only going to be partially on. After the airbox is tightened down, I'll reach in with a long screwdriver and wiggle it and pull down on the boots, and then they'll go into place. By tightening the bolts down first, you give the downward pressure needed for the boots to slide over the carbs. Next, using long flat screwdrivers as pry bars, you're going to reach under the frame but above the wiring, put it onto the boot, and gently pry down. And then you're going to go for small movements, not large movements, and then just work your way across each side to get the boot down over the top of the carburetor. That's where you do it on this side. And on this side, you're reaching through below the frame, but over the wires and tubing. Grip onto the boot on the top and gently pry it down, making a movement from here to here. And you're just making a small movement a little bit at a time. It's a slow going process until you get it down into place. Just a note, you want to be real careful when you're using the pry bars in there that you don't knock off the fuel line or any of the vent lines, and that you don't use so much force that you rip through the rubber boot. The right side clamp, you put your Phillips head screwdriver right under the frame but above the wires in, and you tighten that, snug it down. And then on the left side of the bike, you go through with the Phillips head screwdriver below the frame but above the wires, and you reach right through and snug down the screwdriver, snug down the clamp. Then you're just about done with the airbox installation. Just take a quick look to make sure you didn't pinch anything. Make sure that you're properly mounted on the carburetors. Take your little rubber piece here and loop it over the little hooks there. And then there's a little hook on that side. And then take your little wire, put it under here. So there we go. We've mounted the airbox. With a little practice, it becomes easier and easier every time you do it.